Everybody loves discounts. We always celebrate when we get a great deal. If I would have gotten a penny for every time I've heard something like this. I bought this house for $260,000, but the appraisal came back at $270,000. Or I bought an apartment at $30,000 back in 2008, and today it's worth $250,000. Again, if I wouldn't gotten a penny for every time I've heard this, I would have probably have enough money for a down payment for another house. But the point is that everybody loves discount. Every time somebody found out that they paid less for something that was worth more, or that the house increased in value over the years, they immediately want to celebrate. But wait a minute, not everything is a cause for celebration. Your house going up in value can sometimes mean bad news, unless you do this. Welcome to Novarize. If you're new here, welcome. In here, we'll cover anything related to real estate investments, investments in the stock market, precious metals, and businesses. Today, we're going to talk about 3 things that will be negatively impacted if your house goes up in value. The first one, it's property taxes. This is a direct correlation. If your house goes up in value, that means your property taxes will go up. That's why sometimes you hear about people complaining about having a fixed mortgage, and yet within a few years, they end up paying a higher monthly payment. Well, for those who don't know, your mortgage payments are composed of the following. There's the principal, then there's the interest, and then there's an escrow. And the escrow is made up of your insurance payment and your property tax payment. What stays fixed over the years, call it 15 years or 30 years, depending on the type of mortgage that you get, is the principal and the interest. That amount will not change. However, your escrow, that's variable over the years because either your insurance can go up or your property taxes, and sometimes both can go up. So what's the solution for this? Well, there's something you can do, but it's not something that will work all the time. So in the first year that you see an investment in your proposed taxes, you will typically receive a proposal letter indicating the new taxes that are going to be charged the following year. And you usually get that letter sometime around in the summer. And then somewhere in that letter, you're going to see a phone number of your property appraiser. So you're going to call that number and look for ways to negotiate to bring back those proposed taxes to the way they were. Now, before you do that call, you need to do market research. You need to go up to them with an informed decision. So you're going to go on Zillow or whatever website you want to do and just check out what the property prices in your area are. So if they all have gone up, then chances are you don't really have much room for negotiation. But if they have maintained the value and not necessarily go up, then you can use that data and negotiate. If you call that number and you talk to your appraiser and you say, hey, based on my research, I have seen that not all the properties in this area have gone up, and I'm trying to understand, like, why are you proposing something to go up when the data says otherwise? I have done this once. The first year, I got a proposal for my property taxes to go up, and I used the exact same script, and it did work that one time. The appraiser agreed with me. He informed me that the way he ended up doing the appraisal was based on zip code. And yeah, there were some properties in the area that were going up in value by a lot. But in my section where my properties were located, the prices really didn't change. So we agreed that he was going to leave everything unchanged for that year. But then in the following year, he had another choice but to increase the property taxes. And that's fine. I bought myself an extra year. Of course, the following year, I tried to do that again and I did some research, but the data was not backing me up. The properties did go up in value, and I, in turn, ended up with a higher tax bill. So yeah, an increase in property value, it's a reason for celebration, but it comes at a cost. What about you? Have you tried this? If so, let me know what was the outcome. If you have any proposal, feel free to share it as well. The second thing that can be negatively impacted is your home insurance. Now, the increase in property value doesn't necessarily affect your insurance directly. So for those who don't know, the way the insurance is set up is based on replacement cost, not on market value. What's the difference? Well, the replacement cost is basically the cost that it will take to rebuild your house from the ground up if something happened to it. So that includes labor, materials, and all of the stuff that goes into it. And the market value is basically the value that includes the replacement cost plus the gain of the contractor or the flipper plus any fees that you will pay to your realtor. So that's what's called the market value. And the market value also, it's the value that people in the market are willing to pay for that property. And generally, under good circumstances, the market value tends to be higher than the replacement cost. The replacement cost is lower. How does that impact you? Very easy. So let's think about the scenario that I talked about in the beginning. So you bought an apartment back in 2008 for $30,000, and then you fast forward all these years, and today that apartment is worth $250,000. So let's assume you really like your insurance company and you have been renewing the same policy over the years. Chances are that replacement cost is still set back in the amount where you first purchased the property. Maybe that has been a slight increase, but it's closer to this number than this number right here. So if something were to happen, let's say you have a fire in your apartment and you need to replace it, chances are the check that you're going to get is going to be much lower, and it's going to be based on this amount, and you might not have enough to rebuild the property at today's cost, which includes everything with inflation. And I'm sure you know that labor has gone up a lot too, and construction materials. So chances are you're going to be short on replacing costs. A possible solution to this is to either call the insurance and ask them to upgrade the replacement cost to today's standards. But, some people don't want to do that because that means that your insurance costs will go up. In that case, it will go up immediately. Some other people take the risk and they're willing to live with a lower replacement cost. But instead, what they do is that they try to work out with credit cards, especially the 0% credit cards with introductory offer. And they renovate their property using the capital from the credit cards to make up for the difference of whatever your replacement cost check came short. Another possible solution to this is to do a refinance, but don't do the refinance when your property gets burned or when it's in the middle of a chaos. The best time to pursue a refinance and to pull the additional equity out is when you don't need the money. That's when your finances are strong, your property is in a good condition. A lot of real estate investors do this over and over again. They pull the equity out to protect their assets in the event of a market downturn, in the event that your property goes down in value, and at least you didn't lose all that equity. You actually have that equity working with you. And that brings me to my third point, the refinance. And that's a double-edged sword. It could work with you or it can work against you. What do I mean by that? So let's go back to our first example about the apartment. So you bought this apartment back in 2008 for $30,000. And over the years, it has appreciated to a whopping $250,000, right? So that means that today you have gained a great appreciation of $220,000. So when you do a refinance, you can actually pull that capital out in liquid cash. Now, granted, banks will not let you pull all of it out because they want to see some reserves back into the place. So when you see something like LTV 80 or LTV 70, that just simply means that if you get an LTV of 80, that the bank will require you to have 20% in reserves, and that will give you the difference. Or if it's 70, then it will be a 30% in reserve, and then you will get the difference. Now, what happens when you pull that equity out? Well, this is what I mean by a double-edged sword. You can turn this into a bad debt easily, or you can choose to turn this into good debt. All right? So what's the difference between the two? Well, when we talk about bad debt, as Robert Kiyosaki refers to it, a bad debt is something that it becomes a liability that you're going to have to constantly work nonstop, slave to that debt. An example of this is when people take this equity out and they choose to, upgrade the house, build a pool, or build a new fancy kitchen, or redo the master bathroom, or redo the master bedroom, just to make it more luxurious and all. And that's great. Yeah, you are increasing the value of your home, quote unquote. But in reality, what you're doing is you're increasing your liability because, yes, your home going up in value is not necessarily a home that is paying itself. you have to pay for it. You have to continue to work. And what will happen if you lose your job? Or, I don't know, there's a divorce or a death in the family. Chances are you might come up a little short on cash. And that's what we mean by bad debt. And a lot of people tend to fall for this trap because the emotions come into play. Now, some other investors, myself included, what we do is that we like to pull that equity out and we invest it in assets. Assets like real estate or precious metals or whatever, anything that goes up in value over time and that can also generate income. Income that's going to help me pay for that refinance, income that's going to help me pay for the financing of that home. Bottom line is you need to use that money intelligently to generate income. And then after you generate income, you think about buying your toys. Call it the fancy car, the nice kitchen, the nice enhanced master bathroom or bedroom. And when you do that, not only you're generating income to cover your liabilities, you can also use that same income to cover the difference in increase in property taxes or to just simply cover whatever renovation that you need and not having to increase that insurance because you're already making money work for you. And that's how you turn something negative into something positive by making informed decisions. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.